The latest Northern Ireland figures show that 370,000 people, and that's almost 20% of the population here, are in what's called relative poverty. Those figures are made up of 110,000 children. That is 1 in 4 of all children. 220,000 working age adults and 40,000 pensioners. On top of that, according to the Housing Executive's own figures, 22% of the population live in fuel poverty. And all those numbers were compiled before the COVID pandemic. But let's return briefly to the concept of relative poverty. The Department of Community's official description of relative poverty is when households have 50% less than average household incomes. So they do have some money, but still not enough money to afford things to live above the basics. Then there's what's described as absolute poverty. Absolute poverty occurs when the income of a household is less than 60% of the UK median, or average household income. That means households with a weekly income of less than £320 are living in absolute poverty. You look at those figures and look at those criteria, and then you measure it against the lived experience. What is really happening in people's lives? And you begin to realise how figures, statistics and definitions can mask the reality and conceal the true extent of problems that people are facing day and daily. And now for the good news. The Northern Ireland Executive are working on an anti-poverty strategy. Section 28E of the Northern Ireland Act 1998 requires the Executive to adopt a strategy setting out how it proposes to tackle poverty, social exclusion and patterns of deprivation based on objective need. That was 24 years ago. Obviously, successive executives have never felt there was any urgency involved in this. Maybe they're waiting for the poverty figures to reach 400,000. Maybe they were working on a petition of concern. Maybe they were preoccupied with plans to walk out of the Assembly for 3 years. Or maybe, just maybe, releasing people from poverty isn't a priority for them. Maybe they think they get more votes than promising people jam today rather than giving them bread. Jam tomorrow, sorry, rather than giving them bread today. There might be just some truth in that. The current executive, or at least the one that existed before the DUP walkout, says in its anti-poverty strategy that it aims to address inequalities and obstacles that directly affect the everyday lives of the most vulnerable people in society, and will bring focus to identifying and addressing the issues, barriers and disadvantages that undermine equality of opportunity. I wonder what that could be. And you have to wonder why it took 24 years to start asking the question. Work on the development of the anti-poverty strategy continues through, and I quote, a co-designed group and a cross-departmental working group. That must be very comforting to know if you and your family are sitting in front of a 1-bar electric fire for 1 hour a day, discussing where your next meal is coming from, presuming, of course, that you have a 1-bar electric fire in the first place. I'm not saying that for a comic effect. This type of language and the type of approach is no accident. It is, as we'll hear this afternoon, an integral part of Stormont Executive's approach to poverty and social deprivation. It is the same approach which was quite rightly called out by our comrade Patrick Lynn from South Belfast late last year when he tackled Communities Minister Deirdre Harkey for her use on the phrase food insecurity. What she meant, but chose not to say, was food poverty. And that is telling, because we and thousands of others know what poverty looks like. But the Stormont Executive, the big five parties, and the Minister of Communities would like us to see it differently. No one is actually poor. No money maybe, but not poor. No one is in poverty, although they may be lacking worldly goods. And of course, poverty has no consequences. Children suffering from malnutrition have merely made the wrong dietary decisions. People suffering from hypothermia are displaying poor home management skills. Unemployed people are just surface to current labour market requirements. And homeless people who spend the night in a shop doorway are rough sleepers making a lifestyle choice. Rebranding it, redefine it, and reimagine it are deliberate and callous strategies. They are designed to obscure the problems, deflect responsibility, provide excuses for inaction, and to marginalise those who are affected. No one should be in any doubt that language is used as a class weapon. We've shown some examples of its use in describing and addressing poverty, but these class-based distortions are everywhere, from local issues to international conflicts. But back to the main topic. The use of smokescreen language is deliberate. It forms part of the Stormont Executive strategy and also the strategy of those who say they want an end to poverty, but not at the expense of any changes to the economic system, which causes it or its lifestyles that they are lucky enough to have and enjoy. They may call it what they like, but it's poverty. And every day, in every way, it dictates the lives of at least 370,000 people here. That's what it really looks like. Yes, Minister, it's poverty.